It is I who have created all. I am the source of everything in creation. Upon hearing these ecstatic declarations, an angry mob of fanatic Baluchi soldiers buried the old woman alive. Over 10 years later, when some of these same soldiers happened to be in Poona, to their utter amazement they saw the same old woman, Hazrat Babajan. People saw what appeared to be a mad woman wandering the streets and alleyways, but her only wish was to gaze upon the beloved's face, and her heart would cry out, "Come, my beloved, to meet me, come soon, or I shall die." Upon becoming one of the 5 perfect masters on earth, she left Rawalpindi and embarked on several long journeys through the Middle Eastern countries. It is said that she travelled to Mecca disguised as a man, by way of Afghanistan, Iran, Turkey, and doubling back into Arabia. At the Kaaba in Mecca, she offered the customary Mohammedan prayers 5 times a day, always sitting at one secluded spot. Babajan remained seated under the neem tree. After months of exposure to nature's elements, she grudgingly allowed her devotees to build a shelter. Here she stayed throughout all seasons, alleviating humanity's suffering by allowing anyone to come to her. Babajan resided continuously on the streets of Poona for almost 26 years. In May 1913, her flame also kissed the light of the age, Merwan Sharia Irani, whom Babajan always called my beloved son. To unveil Merwan was her mission. It was for her beloved son that Babajan had travelled to Poona from the Punjab so many years before. Her seat under the neem tree was just a few streets away from his home. Often she would see him pass by, walking with his friends, but she waited many years before she embraced him. People would see her weeping, and when they inquired why, she would reply, "I weep out of love for my son." She would utter, "One day my son will come. He will come and shake the world." Tajuddin Baba. No one could understand him. No one had any idea who he really was. No one knew that Taj was the crown. Several British ladies were chatting, drinking their Friday afternoon tea at the country club, when suddenly they saw a naked Indian man walking across the tennis courts. Outraged by this shocking spectacle and thinking the fellow must be insane, they summoned the police, who arrested him. They then had him sentenced to be locked up in a lunatic asylum. This lunatic, however, was wonderfully strange and different. A crowd would gather outside the walls of the asylum were waiting his blessing. A separate entranceway was erected to the asylum just so people could see this lunatic. Why? Was he really mad, or were the people who committed him mad? Why would people seek the blessing of this particular madman? He was the Taj of India, the crown of Islam. He was the Tajuddin Baba, a Qutb, a pivot of the universe, an axis of cosmic forces. This perfect master opened his wine shop in a mental asylum and the people who flocked to him became intoxicated and divinely mad. Tajuddin lived his final days at Raja Bhosal's Red House. At his ashram in Kedgaon, Narayan had built a beautiful temple consecrated to Dattatreya, in which he would perform daily, in Hindu fashion, puja, worship. It is said that the god Dattatreya would appear physically every day in the temple when Narayan worshipped. The young Sadguru's fame spread. More and more people came for his spiritual guidance and blessing. Narayan would also sometimes worship Shiva, the first soul, the greatest of the yogis, and often wore the mark of Shiva. A perfect master is God in human form, an individual who has become God, and he is absolutely beyond all normal bounds. His every activity is outside the scope of one's human limited vision. In April 1915, while Narayan was holding darshan, suddenly a stream of light shone through the crowd, and a ragged young man appeared before him. The young man was dazed. It was the Zoroastrian youth from Poona, whom Babajan had kissed. Narayan immediately dispersed the crowd and came down from his seat, and taking a garland from his own neck, placed it around the young man's neck. He then gave the young man fresh mango juice to drink. After finishing the juice, the young man arose from the seat, bowed to Narayan and disappeared out of the door. Narayan kept gazing at the youth until he was out of sight, and he seemed extremely pleased.
I found a path to the cave, the actual cave where Sai Baba at the age of 16 gained God realization.
When Sai finally left the cave, he was emaciated, a living skeleton. Sai wandered back to Shirdi in 1858, and there he stayed. Once in a glorious state he declared his divine state. I am the attributeless one, the absolute. The universe is my abode. Brahma is my father, and Maya is my mother. By their interlocking I got this body. Those who think I reside at Shirdi do not know the real Sai, for I am formless and everywhere. It was the year 1890, outside Nasik, India. A seeker named Kashinath despaired, and in his sorrow and hopelessness he decided to fast to death. He passed the city and ventured into the jungle, where he came across a mountain of caves. He silently began repeating God's name for days. Kashinath then visited Sai Baba, who said, I have given everything to him. What is mine is his. There is no separation or distinction between us. Kashinath soon left in the Khandoba temple, about 200 to 300 yards from Sai Baba's mosque. Under Sai Baba's instruction, food was brought to Kashinath at the temple by a certain devotee. But some days after, Sai ordered the devotee to stop, since it had not been prepared with love. Kashinath stopped eating, refused any other food brought to him, and began to fast. This fast was to last for a year. He was now always called Upasani Maharaj, a Sadguru, a living perfect master. Upasani Maharaj always taught that God is in everything, the good, bad, beautiful, ugly, clean and unclean. It was during December 1915 that the young Zoroastrian from Poona, to whom Sai Baba adopted Pavadigar, wandered in a dazed state to the Khandoba temple. Upasani Maharaj had been fasting and was reduced to a skeleton. He was naked, sitting outside on the steps of the temple. As the young man slowly walked forward with folded hands, looking directly at him, Upasani picked up a stone, stood up and threw it at the young man, striking him on the forehead with such force that the wound bled. Upasani kissed the wound and took him inside Khandoba temple, where they stayed for 2 days alone. Alone with each other inside that temple, no one knows what occurred during those 2 days, except that Upasani revealed to the young man his own divine identity of being the Ancient One. On the evening of December 25th, 1922, when Upasani's devotees came to him for their usual darshan in his hut, they were shocked to find he had locked himself inside a small cage of bamboo poles. The devotees began to weep and pressed him for an explanation. Because the cage was so small, Upasani was cramped inside and could not stand. To appease them, Upasani replied, "It is the will of God that for your sake I have to confine myself." In 1936, Upasani went to Ahmednagar for one special purpose, to perform arati before that man's photograph. Afterwards, Upasani asked the people there, "Do you really know who he is? He is the avatar." Upasani had brought the primal force into human form. That young man had become his leading disciple and spiritual heir, and God-conscious master himself. Both met for the last time in a deserted area called Dahigon on October 17th, 1941. They met in seclusion, alone together in a hut,